Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's been an interesting few weeks when it comes to news in the world of Call of Duty, and most recently the biggest news that came completely out of the blue was the announcement, or the sort of reveal slash leak slash, I don't really know what to call it. Warzone 2 was in a way announced via a Bloomberg article saying that PlayStation is still going to have COD games on it through at least 2023, including the COD 2022 title, COD 2023, and then whatever this Warzone 2, this new iteration of Warzone, is going to be. And since that article actually came out, we've got some new leaks regarding what potentially is going to happen with Warzone 2. Lots of interesting things surfacing here. So as we cover it all, if you enjoy the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here or if you haven't already subscribed, every day I got you covered with all things going on in COD. So feel free to click that sub button, tap that bell icon. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. So a lot of this information is stemming from Tom Henderson. If you don't know who he is a very credible insider source for all sorts of gaming news, especially Call of Duty. He's gotten a lot of stuff right, really ever since, like, I want to say MW 2019. He predicted and sort of foretold a lot of stuff going on there, and pretty much all of what he says ends up coming true at some point in time. So he's got a very credible track record. As always, when it comes to leaks and rumors like this, though, be sure to take everything with a pinch of salt. Nothing is 100% official. Nothing is 100% confirmed, unless, of course, Call of Duty comes out and says something specifically. But we do have some very interesting information here. I want to start first with when we could potentially see Warzone 2, because, well, a release date is semi-important to take note of, right? Definitely a very important piece of information, but there is just so many different things that could potentially happen here. So based off of what Tom Henderson has said previously in a live stream where he talked about some information that he's heard so far on Warzone 2, he heard it could be launching anywhere from the end of 2022 or at some point in 2023. And the way that I see it, there are essentially 4 potential release dates, which is a lot, and it's a very large time gap between the first one and the last one, but the end of 2022 being the first. Obviously, this would in theory happen just after the launch of COD 2022, which is presumably going to be Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 2022, a sequel to MW 2019. It would line up with what we've seen with the previous Warzone integrations, but launching a brand new game then would be very interesting, especially pending some other information that we'll talk about here in just a moment. To me, that seems relatively unlikely, just because that's a very rushed time frame. Obviously, we don't have any news on this, so it'd be announced and then be dropping just a few months later at that point. And also, it doesn't seem like it would make the most sense to launch a brand new game right before the holidays yet again, when we've seen what's happened the last 2 times they've done major updates and major stuff like that just before the holidays. So the end of 2022 is a potential date, but one that I personally think is not all that likely. The next one would be the spring of 2023, somewhere around the anniversary of Warzone dropping, which is March 10th, 2020. So, you know, March, May, somewhere in that maybe April area of 2023. That, to me, I think would be the most likely date for this to potentially drop. It's got still, you know, a year and a little bit to actually go until we get there, obviously. So plenty of time to be developed more, plenty of time for people to get their hands on current gen consoles now, which is a very important point. Again, more on that here in just a bit. But to me, the spring makes the most sense. It's going to be just like with Warzone's initial launch, where you have your COD launching, COD 2022 in this case, that gets its own hype, and then you have a separate launch that sort of revitalizes everything and sets you up for the rest of the year. Now, option number 3 would be right alongside the release of COD 2023, which is presumably going to happen in October or November of 2023. Again, I just don't think this one would be all that likely, because if you were to launch your premium COD title, Treyarch's next game, you want to have all the hype on that, all the focus on that. When you go ahead and you launch Warzone 2, you want to have all the hype on that, all the focus on that. If you launch them both together, you're going to split the player base. Players are going to be bouncing back and forth. That's not good for numbers, for investors, or for you know, everything going on behind the scenes. It just would not make sense to launch 2 Titan games at the same time. It's just not going to help one or the other more. It's just going to split things, and that's not ideal. And then the fourth and final option would be just after the release of COD 2023, so, you know, in late November or December of 2023, which, again, going back to the same topic as with the end of 2022, it just seems weird to try and repeat the same cycle that really has not worked for a launch for 2 years in a row, with Cold War and Vanguard's integrations being such massive messes. launching a brand new game, I could only imagine, would also have similar issues here and there, and you don't want to have that happening at the launch, let alone an integration. So again, the end of the year sort of conversation there, I guess, is just one that to me is plausible for sure, because we've seen it happen with the integrations, but it just doesn't make the most sense at this point in time. So in my opinion, and take that for what it is, just my opinion, I feel like the spring of 2023 would be the most likely date for Warzone 2 to drop. And I say that because some other leaked information that Tom Henderson previously talked about is that supposedly Warzone 2 will be current gen and PC only. His full tweet says Warzone 2 is literally just that. It's Warzone 2. It's current gen and PC only. There's no past weapon integrations. It's a completely new game for the better hardware. So looking at, those dates again, right now, current gen consoles are near impossible to actually get hands on, right? It's so hard to find one at a reasonable price and not something that is scalper prices or way over MSRP. The console availability is just not there yet. So launching it at the end of this year is really banking on the fact that there's going to be more consoles available throughout the next 11 months, which is a gamble. It just doesn't make sense for Activision to take that gamble. Instead, you wait a little bit over a year and suddenly there's a lot more consoles out on the market. They're in a lot more homes. That's going to be better. So if it is in fact current gen and PC only, that spring of 2023 launch date would definitely, I feel like, fit there well because of the availability and just that general time frame of launching a game without too many other things getting in the way. Now, Tom also mentions that there won't be any past weapon integrations. This would essentially be a completely fresh start. And as far as what would be included in the game, that again comes down to when exactly it'd be launching. If it were to launch in the spring of 2023, then obviously the game would probably be comprised of all the Modern Warfare 2022 weapons. If for whatever reason it were to launch alongside COD 2023 or right after COD 2023, then it'd probably have the COD 2023 weapons and maybe some MW 2022 ones as well. But no past integrations means no MW 2019 weapons, unless of course there's shared some between MW2 and MW 2019. No Cold War weapons, no Vanguard weapons. Those will be left alone for whatever old Warzone is, Warzone 1.0 or Warzone Pacific. Also, speaking of the old Warzone, that's sort of the segue into the final conversation for this video. What exactly would happen to the old Warzone? Would it be left simply to be Warzone Pacific till the end of time when we get a brand new application for Warzone 2? For what it's worth, I absolutely think that Warzone 2 will in fact be its own app. It'll be removed from the MW 2019 app and launcher. Thank goodness. It's well overdue. That's literally what's holding Warzone 1 back right now, is the fact that it's stuck on MW 2019. But would it be left as that old app? Would we ever see updates for that? Or would the game just be left sort of as it would be at the end of the Vanguard life cycle, or at the end of the cycle whenever, Warzone 2 were to drop? And then that's that. It's there if players want to go and revisit it, but Warzone 2 is going to be the primary title for all the updates, for all the new map changes, for all the weapon tuning and everything like that. Honestly, only time is going to tell there, but it's a very interesting thing to think about. Warzone is still, yes, obviously it has issues, and it certainly has not been as well received since the Caldera update as it was before, but Warzone still does have that active audience, that active player base, and people who want to grind this game. For them to just say, all right, that's it, we're on to the next one, is definitely surprising and would be a little bit weird. So I'm curious to see if they really try to support it any further, or if they are fully on board with Warzone 2 once that drops. Obviously, Warzone 2 would be the front and center focus for it, for all the Activision personnel, for all the updates and content, but it would be interesting to see what happens between the two, and if that really has a big impact on the player base, if you're splitting the player base between old Warzone and new Warzone. Another side note, I kind of hope they don't call it Warzone 2. It just sounds weird. Leave it as Warzone. Technically, Warzone right now is titled Warzone Pacific. They kind of made a big deal out of changing the name from Warzone to Warzone Pacific when we got the Pacific updates. So part of me is thinking, okay, that's them sort of trying to market that for the future. Warzone Pacific will be old gen Warzone with all the, MW 2019, Vanguard, and Cold War weapons on Caldera and whatnot. We'll have Rebirth or whatever map we have at that point in time. And then real Warzone, technically Warzone 2, would just simply again be titled Warzone, because that's what's recognizable. That's what's going to draw in the nostalgia factor and players from before that maybe aren't on the game now. Regardless, there's so much time in between now and then. We're going to see a bunch of new developments, a bunch of new leaks and rumors, and ultimately some new reveals and actual official announcements. And you already know, whenever any of that stuff surfaces, we'll be covering it right here on the channel. So stick it here for that and everything else going on in COD. feel free to subscribe with your notifications on. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. And if you guys enjoyed this one, let me know by dropping a like on it. Would be seriously appreciated, and it does really help the channel grow. But all that being said, that is going to wrap things up for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.